Wise men say only fools rush in, for I can't help falling in love with you.
And lights up.
What did I do? Where did I go wrong? How did I get here? Well, in the beginning, I was fat. I was a cute, chubby kid. After a time, as I grew older, the words fat, chubby, big-boned took on a completely different meaning. There was a time when I was unaware. Words did not mean as much as they would somehow. Charmingly innocent, blissfully ignorant. Oh, if I could only be there now. And then some well-intentioned person said it. She is fat, robust, a big-boned girl if you must. What did I care? My parents were there. I was free. I was happy. I was loved. And then it started to sound like this. Piggy, 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 fat. Silly, fat's a blob. All of the children calling me hog. They say I'm fat. Sheesh. And then I began to know too much. I really wish I had stayed out of touch. Woefully insecure, and I guess somehow impure. And I knew I could never return. So I started to say it to myself. I am fat, robust. I'm not worthy of love. That's all I care about. I am stuck. I am angry. And who gives up? Ooh, 'cause all I could hear in my head was piggy, 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 fat. Silly, fat's a blob. That I know that I am a hog. I say I'm fat. When you start out fat, you don't think much of it. And the fat in my family went way back. I had a German great-grandmother that was, no kidding, 5'2" and topped the scales at 350 pounds. Even my father's side of the family was hefty. The genetics were stacked against me from the start. But there was another family trait that didn't help, comfort food. We all have reasons to comfort ourselves: death, loss, sacrifice. But as a child, how do you explain all of the pain of a parent going away? First he left, then they divorced, then one day I remember I was 12 years old and my father had come to town for a visit. I was so excited to see him until my brother came home that day and said, he's dead. It started early, a way to soothe, a sweet little something on the end of a spoon. Your father loved you, he was over the moon about you. Unaware of the end of the line, I returned to the spoon, time after time. A little dessert will make you feel fine, they said. There was a knife and a fork in there too, and little me with nothing to do but wonder and worry, and then I would hear, have something to eat. I was 18 years old, and I was a good girl, but so passionate. I held out for years, and then one Valentine's Day, well, it was just too good, and bam! First time's a charm. Pregnant before I knew, wasn't ready to be a parent too. Little boy blue sent over the moon to another mother. And now it won't end, there's no cure, I'm afraid. When food covers loss, you eat it in spades and try to fill the bottomless well sorrow makes. Time after time, after death, after loss, putting something in your mouth will make it all better. At least for a while. And once you learn that, you have it. Because nothing else will fill that hole. That empty, dark hole. I hear them saying, she's fat. Well, so what? I'm just fine, my mind is made up, I have all I need, right here on my couch. I've got TV and quiet, and I'm all alone. I think I'll have something to eat. Cake, cookies, potato chips. Now, I grew up during a time when the family sat down at the table for dinner. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, hot buttered bread. Oh, I remember eyeing that table and feeling almost desperate for dinner to begin. I wanted more love, more attention, more food. Food was the one thing I had control over, and I was out of control. Until I discovered men. Not love, as it turns out, but men. It took a long time for me to figure it out. Just because I was fat, just because I am fat doesn't mean that I'm not attractive. I have even been married several times. I've had the in love with being in love, the too good to be true, it must be true love, the soulmate love, the love at first sight love. I've had the it's like this in the books love, and the high romance like in the movies love, though who cares what I think, he wants me love. I was fat, but I was having so much fun. It was so great and exciting to find out that I had power in spite of what others thought. The only problem was that I believed that if someone wanted me, he must be the right one. till I figured out he was the wrong one. I started to see a pattern of passion, then disappointment. It didn't take long for me to figure it out. They said they loved me, but did I have to love them? I was so busy being in love. I had the much older man than me love, the wild love, the alcoholic love, both at the same time. Next came the man who couldn't deal with his depression love, and the I accept you as you are love, then hop in the sack, a tit for a tat love. As with most mistakes in life, I kept making the same one. Didn't I have to love them if they loved me? It seemed to make sense. But after a time, there were faults that could not be ignored. The question was, were the faults his or mine? Maybe it's time for me to figure this love thing out. Love or hormones? I was out of control again. I couldn't believe that I was worthy of love, so I kept searching for it, even during other relationships. And now I was addicted to two things: food and passion. Oh, you know what I mean. That passion you feel right at the beginning of the relationship, the question, the excitement, and then the kiss. Everything is great. He is perfect, and I am made complete every time. Until I wasn't. My start with Jim was much the same. It was passion like no other. This was the real one. I was sure. Then the pattern began repeating. Disappointment was coming through until the day we heard them say, stage 4, nothing more than 6 to 12. Then suddenly there were no expectations, and in a moment promises were made in the presence of answers unknown. I assured you you would go in my arms, and suddenly love was something more. Early on, Jim had to spend some time in the hospital, and when he came out, he was unusually sad. So I asked him what was wrong, and he said, I don't want to die in a hospital. So I made him a promise. I said, honey, when you die, it will be at home and in my arms. Time lengthened into 3 years. Radiation brought tears. Some months death was denied. Some minutes it drew nigh. There were days I could not face, me and you, and cancer too. I watched as you faced eternity, asking God, what can we do in the presence of answers unknown? We waited in each other's arms, and thankfully love was something strong. 3 long of a sudden someone had to be there every moment. We moved your bed into the living room. And 1 week later, as I lay on an air mattress at the foot of your bed, as I listened to your labored, rattling breath, I remembered that promise I had given so long ago. So I crawled up into your bed. I wrapped you in my arms and sang. Wise men say only fools rush in, for I can't help falling in love with you. In the moment we could not postpone, you were resting in my arms, and gently love was transformed. And you were gone. Well, I had made it through. Life and love were forever changed, and my understanding of love was no longer about me. It didn't matter how other people thought. For 3 years, my life had been focused on one thing, and being fat had nothing to do with it. I learned that love was about sacrifice and being there when he needed me. I did still eat through all the stress. I didn't give up my comfort food. And shortly after he died, I went a little nuts. That's what widows do. But I now knew that life was so short. Way too short to be worried about so many things, like what others thought, trying to please everyone, and being fat. You know, everyone has their own story. Everyone has their own fact. And now I am much more aware. Words do not mean as much as they did before. Knowingly insecure, but no longer unsure, and happy to never return. Now I can own it. I am fat, robust, a big boned girl.